One of my partners, he's from Latin America, and I'm stereotyping. He loves to hug. Every time I see him, he hugs me. To be blunt, that doesn't work for me. That's not my recognition language.
Thanks for coming to the show, Dave. My idea of this series of conversation is to get your thoughts broadly on the employee engagement space and specifically around rewards and recognition. You have been in this whole HR industry for so long, and I'd love to pick your brain over the next series of discussions with you.
Recognition has two meanings. One is, do we recognize what matters most to an employee? Employees have different needs. We personalize. I was on a call this morning. And I said, what's the most important thing you can give an employee? And he said, money. And I said, well, for some, that's the thing that matters most. For others, what is it an employee values most? Can we recognize the personalization? And then, obviously, for many people, not everybody, being recognized, being acknowledged, being seen as somebody who has value. And so when I recognize you, I acknowledge your existence. I recognize what matters most to you. And we've summarized that into 4. I love simplicity. And I know you do too. In the Vantage platform, it is so beautiful. What do we think employees need that helps them feel recognized? Be safe. They want to feel like there's physical and psychological safety. Believe. They want to be recognized for the values and beliefs they have, their meaning. Belong. They want to be recognized for being part of a community, feeling like they connect. I'm discovering everybody needs their team. They need their place. I have grandkids who are growing up and they're experimenting. Is it music? Is it art? Is it chess? One of my grandsons is 10 years old and he's now beating me at chess consistently. That is such a good thing. One that says I'm a bad chess player, but he's got a team. He's got a group. Yeah. You need to belong. And then become. Are we learning and growing? Be safe, believe, belong, and become. And when we recognize that what we want to do in a company is help people grow, help people find their needs. And recognition is finding out what they need and then acknowledging that. And it's always, and I'll finish, it's always a conundrum in recognition to not become egocentric. It's all about me. That's a false sense of pride. And to be able to say, yeah, people acknowledge my contribution. So those are some very quick overview thoughts.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think it's, you can't really compare the monetary part with the recognition. The monetary is the hygiene factor. You have to have that. You have to have the safety in the company, the environment. A good boss, you can give all the recognition in the world. With a bad boss, doesn't work, right? So I think those are hygiene factors, and then recognition just brings in that additional factor. And we have seen in our company, we have those recognition weeks. It's very difficult to get people to, I recognize him. I'm happy with him, but why should I put up in a public platform all these things for him? So, but when we did these activities or those campaigns, what we found out was even the giver was really happy. Okay,
that's
he's
great
able to recognize something. Sometimes we ignore it. We think like, okay, it's only the receiver who's getting the recognition, but the giver, just like a human psychology, right? It's just like you give out something, you give something, you feel happy there. You've seen that.
One of the things I've done when I coach people, and I do it personally, let me tell personal and then coaching, I happen to attend a church. And sometimes people do something that's good around service or a sermon or something. I bought some note cards. On one of our podcasts, I'll show them to you. They're nice cards and they just have my name. And when somebody does something good, my commitment is once a week to write a note.
Yep.
Thank you for this. Thank you for that. I can't believe how good it makes me feel to acknowledge them. That's the giver. But I almost always get comments. People say, Dave, I see the passive comments, oh, you look good today, or some email thing. But that personal note really helps. Yeah. So when I coach people, after I've coached people for a while, I'll buy them 100 cards and I'll say, your job is to use those 100 cards in the next 6 months. to write a
Yeah.
handwritten note in your penmanship that
Right.
recognizes what people are doing. And I
Yes.
have found people really, they can't, well, and I'm guilty. I was doing work at General Electric a long time ago. Everybody remembers Jack Welch. He was a tough leader. He asked me to help create a couple of programs, and he wrote me a handwritten note.
Wow.
I kept
Wow.
it. I kept
Yeah.
it. Dave, thanks for your good work. Woohoo! They'll put it in my casket when I die. Uh, I mean, it's just amazing that that recognition helps both the giver and the
Hmm.
receiver.
And I think if I connect back to what you said in the beginning, acknowledging, so Jack would not have too much details about what you did, but
No.
that he acknowledged your contribution, it's
Yes.
something big for you. And the way you're putting it, I think so. We hear this, okay? We hear this, and any HR leader or any even the mid-level HR managers, when I talk to and we sell our platform there, yeah, it's very important, very important. We should do recognition, and we have this recognition. We have this annual function where we give out those 10 people some special recognition kind of thing there. But what we found was that we were trying to. I mean, there were not enough studies or frameworks around recognition. See, organizational design. I mean, your work. I've seen some of your work. I mean, it'll take me a lifetime to understand everything there. But organizational design, competent benefits design. There is enough expertise, experience, okay, in that space. But when we talk about recognition, everyone acknowledges it's important, but we haven't really found too much studies around it, too many frameworks around it, kind of thing. My question here is that, do you think it's of strategic importance? Everyone believes it's to be done. Or is it just like a coffee machine? Every company should have a coffee machine there. But is it of strategic importance there? Or do you think it is moving in that direction? Okay, I know
Well, you've
it's
got
like
two
might be
issues.
putting a
You've got,
difficult question.
I mean, you've got the table stakes. That's, remember, and
Yeah.
you referred to it, Frederick Hertzberg's great work, hygiene factors versus motivating factors.
Right.
Sometimes those legacy work is so good. Some of recognition is hygiene. I need to be acknowledged for coming, for doing my job, for the 5-year anniversary. I mean, some of those are kind of hybrid, and you need to do that. That's the coffee machine at work.
Right.
But then the motivating factors are the differentiating. And I'll give some examples where I think companies do it, but I love what you're saying, Partha, because I don't think they're systematic about how they do it. I'll give one example. A lot of companies have the top 100 meeting. So the top 100 executive of a company get together and they have an away day at Goa or some beautiful place, and they
Yeah.
celebrate and they tell each other how great they are. One of the companies said, we want to recognize next generation leaders. And so they decided they'd have 100 people come plus 10. And the 10 couldn't be in the pool. So they're not there by level. They're there because in the previous year they did something well. That's a form of recognition. It's a way to say, we recognize what you did by inviting you to this meeting, and simply
Mm.
being there is part of it. What they did that was really clever. And so they had, I mean, you can figure out what they did. I'm sure they could have used your platform and others, but they had them set up a booth and people could see what they did, and they got to rub shoulders with the senior executives. What I thought was really cool about that is it's the same thing with compensation. Charlie Tharp, who's my mentor in compensation, says compensation is communication. If we're
Mhm.
going to drive recognition, there's a couple of principles. One is to personalize it. Money meant something to that man this morning.
Yeah.
For him, it may have been a motivator. For me, it's a
Yeah.
hygiene factor. It's not the motivator, but it may be for him. The other is communication in a way that matters. What's the signal we're sending with our recognition? Here's what the company did. They had 10 people come because of something they'd done in the last year: software, customer, operations, HR, doesn't matter where. 5 of the 10 succeeded, and
Mhm.
5 of the 10 failed. And the communication through the recognition was, we want you to succeed. We're not naive about that. But if you have experimented and failed and learned from it, we recognize the failure. Wow.
Mm.
I think that's kind of
Absolutely.
cool. So one principle, I think, and I love what you're saying. I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know any frameworks, or I see a lot of recognition hygiene factors. You know, you have a
Mm.
You've been here. One of my friends became an officer at a company, got a catalog of things he could get.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's fine. I get a T-shirt with a logo. That's a hygiene factor.
right, right.
Um, but I think personalizing it and using recognition as a clear communication of what we value the most. That company valued innovation.
Hmm.
Innovation isn't going to be all successful. Innovation is going to have a failure.
Right.
Now, they said to the 10 or to the 5 who failed, you're here because you tried the right thing and it didn't work. You won't come back next year for the same failure.
True,
Um,
true, true. No,
so,
I think I'll pin that thought around values because I have some interesting thoughts around that. I'll bounce it off with you on that. See, I sometimes also think this whole every company does recognition, by the way, as I said, like, those hygiene recognitions, 5 year, 10 years, all those things which is being done. Uh, Maybe 10 years back, there were no options to do it in a very large scale. Okay. And the digitalization part of it, the user experience part of it, the mobile apps were not there. Maybe it was not there. See, even today, uh, when we, particularly in the US market, when we are looking at and when we are answering RFPs also, questions are around, okay, what merchandise catalog do you have? Okay, when will it be delivered? Okay, do you have a 24/7 support on delivery? I said, that's a hygiene factor. You have to think about what your policies, what do you want to recognize, which values you want to recognize, what kind of workflow do you want there. That is more important. The catalog is becoming a very hygiene factor there. Uh, so we have seen that even today. Again, I'm just quoting another Gartner study. They said like less than 20% companies have any platform. Their guess is it's anywhere between 5 to 20% of the companies have any rewards and recognition platforms. Okay. My thought, and I just wanted to have your thoughts also, that maybe 10 years back it was not there. The tools were not there to bring it in the workflow. I talked about mobile applications, for example. You don't want people to log on to a different system, but the app is there, quickly you can do those stuff. Secondly, things like in the flow of the work, as they say, even Microsoft Teams. Okay, that's a tool which people are using to communicate with each other. Maybe that's becoming their default landing page in the morning when they get into office there. So integrated with there so that the recognition happens in the flow of the work. It tells you what's happening and who are the people in your team whom you haven't recognized for some time. So do you think that now the ecosystem is coming into or falling into place to for companies to take platforms? Okay, now, I mean, broadly, I mean, do you think that now things might be changing because so far everyone's doing recognition? Okay, there. And actually, just to add one more point onto that is that sometimes things pick up when vendors also talk about it. Okay. Now vendors like us have to keep on shouting, right? So if we have to, if there are 10 vendors who are talking about it, then automatically starts picking up. Okay, just like Salesforce was talking about SaaS, it starts picking up there, right? So vendors also have been talking more on the catalog because the money is there, by the way. Okay, the money is there in the catalog business. They have been talking about the catalog. We have a better catalog. We have a 2-day delivery kind of things there. People have not been talking about recognition there. But we think that the future, the things are falling into place. Recognition is going to be the main focus of companies. The catalog will become a hygiene factor, and it's a commodity there. Any things? I mean, anything which triggers your
let
thoughts?
me think out loud with you. First
Hmm.
of all, you said some brilliant things. Obviously, one, recognition. We all recognize recognition. I mean, we all know that it's there. We all know that it matters. We feel good about it. The second thing is that there are different types of recognition. The hygiene factors are pretty straightforward. On my birthday, you give me a cake. Okay. I mean, what happens is if you don't get a hygiene factor, you've created an entitlement that people expect, and then you get a negative, and that was Frederick Hertzberg's idea, the
Right.
disincentive of not meeting the hygiene factors. So let's go the next step. What would a recognition framework look like? it would need to be something that helps employees have a better experience at work, a better sense of well-being, and more engagement, commitment, whatever you want to call that, motivation. I don't care what you call it. I've called it sentiment. They're more engaged. What would that look like? And I think you've listed 3 things. It's going to have different, well, I'm going to put 2 together. The personalization in the platform. We're going to find a way to recognize you in a way that works for you. The parallel to that, and think of these for a minute as rows, is language is a love. If you remember the love language work, it's gifts, words of affection, tokens. Well, everybody has their own recognition that matters to me. For example, one of my partners, he's from Latin America, and I'm stereotyping. He loves to hug. Every time I see him, he hugs me. To be blunt, that doesn't work for me. I just,
Okay.
that's not my recognition language. So personalize and platform. The second is communication. What is it we're communicating? Now, let me take what I said earlier. We've summarized what employees experience at work into 4 things and talk about recognition of the 4. Be safe. How can recognition help people feel psychological safety? Here's what we do. We recognize your right to speak up. We recognize and that's psychological safety. You have a right to present. The 5 people who failed. We recognize that right to speak up, and we encourage it. Believe. We want to recognize that your values and our company values overlap. You are going to find your meaning, and we'll recognize that in work. Become. You're going to learn. We recognize your commitment to learning, and we're going to give you chances to go to training, to go to development experiences, and recognition becomes a tool to become better. And the best one is belong. That's obvious. I love the platform where we start sharing words of affirmation. I'll tell one quick story that was so powerful. I'm consulting with my partner, and it's the CEO of a large company. I won't name the company or even the industry, but it's a big company. We're supposed to start at 8:00. 7 or 8 of his executives are there. He's not there. It's 8:15. It's 8:30. Finally, we say, "Where is he?" And they said, "He's still at home." He shows up at 8:45, and we have a day. And he said, "I have something to say." Okay. "You are not doing your job well." And he screamed at people for 10 minutes. I leaned over to my partner and I said, "It's your consulting day, not mine," because he had just decimated the room. So how do you change the spirit in the room? And he had good intention. I mean, he really did feel that. He was passionate about getting results, but he was doing it the wrong way. Here's what we did. It's not a new exercise. I said, go get 10 4x6 cards. Everybody write the name of the other 9 people in the room and one strength of that person. That's becoming. That's belonging. What's one strength? Don't put your name on it. And then like a Valentine's Day gift, go put it where they're sitting. Everybody read their strengths. And suddenly the energy in the room that was lost was improved because of a recognition event where people recognize their strengths. I'll finish it with his. He had 2 strengths. He's very smart and he's very committed. I mean, a genius. And he's built this company that's multi-billion, and he's a genius, and he works incredible hours. He had no family. All he did was work. So I looked at him and I said to him, "You are a lollipop leader. You've got a great brain and no heart with the rest of your lollipop stick." And he said, "That's not very good." And I said, "It wasn't intended to be." but notice the feeling. I've done that exercise. I'm sure you've done it. That's the belonging to a team by affirming and building on your strengths. Anyway, I love the idea.
True.
Recognition is the personalization and platform, and it's communication. Be safe, believe, become, and belong. And we can build a framework for beginning to see the value of that for employee engagement.
Lovely thoughts, Dave, and particularly the belonging. And I was just trying to see it with the Maslow's hierarchy. I mean, that has the word of belonging, right? I mean, that's the 4th level, which is there. I mean, that's the money is the hygiene, the safety thing at the very bottom there, right? And then as you move up, I mean, the belonging thing, you can just correlate with that.
I love Maslow.
There.
I love it. I can remember it. Will I eat today? Base. Will I eat tomorrow? Security. Will I eat in the right places? Social. belonging. Will I eat with the right people? And if I
Right.
self-actualize, I don't even need to eat. Now, I've not
Yeah.
gotten there yet, quite obviously, because of my third chin.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I think recognition can go through those same things. I mean,
Yes.
people at Maslow and Herzberg who were really smart
Yeah.
recognize there's table stakes. If you're going to play poker, you got to ante, and there's differentiators. And recognition, I think you said it so well. Those catalogs of gifts, they're really
Yeah.
table stakes. I mean,
True.
they're not differentiators.
True. No, and one of your initial thoughts, actually, initial points which you talked about recognizing the right kind of value, it just triggered a different thought in me. I'll come to that, and that will last question for today. Uh, my, you know, there are lots of systems for HR. Okay, your HRMS system, leave management, payroll systems, all those systems. But when I would think about it, these are all systems of records, right? So you just keep the records there. But what are the tools? And it just triggered an old thought in me, because I have been always thinking, what are the systems or tools which are available to HR to actually affect a behavioral change, okay, or to get certain value, they want to promote certain values there. One is, of course, the communication. I mean, whether through email, whatever, chat, and all those things is there. But what are the other ways? And I'll give you some more context to this. So one company said that, hey, we want to drive this ESG behavior in our employees. We want to promote it, and we also want to track it there. Okay. And we can send out 100 mails to that. The CEO can put a video message and all those things. But how do the line managers keep on promoting the ESG behavior? And how do we see which groups are actually actively trying to promote those kind of things? So I think maybe the future of these recognition tools, or maybe the recognition is a very narrow definition to it. Maybe these are tools which can affect or help in promoting certain behaviors, tracking those some of the behaviors. But I don't know, maybe there are other tools also which are available. Any thoughts? I mean, these are
Yeah,
like
I love the thought. It's fun to talk to you because you're triggering thoughts in me of things that I haven't seen, which is always most useful. I love the idea of how do you get people to sustain change behavior? And if we can solve that in a podcast, that's not going to happen. People have been
yeah,
doing that for generations. But
yeah.
one of the things we've learned as we've tried to do that is compensation is not a lead indicator, it's a lag. So when you pay someone to change their behavior, that's a lag to sustain behavior, not to cause a change. So I'm a leader. I want my employee to do more ESG. Let's use that as an example. More social citizenship, diversity, community service, whatever goes into that ESG bucket. What do I do? Number one, I think I try to help the employee see why he or she does it that's in it for him. I don't get them to do it for me, the leader, or for us, the company. I get them to say, what are the things you value most? Not only in the
Mm,
company, but in your life. I value service. I value learning. If you engage in this ESG behavior, whatever it is, community service day, whatever, we think you'll get more what you want in your life. I'm not causing you to do ESG to haze you. I'm encouraging you. I'm allowing you to do ESG because it works for you. My sense is that's one. Number two, when you do that, the work itself becomes the motivator. I'm doing
yeah.
the work that I value. And the recognition is not just in a formal system, it's in doing work that I've been asked, personalize it. I'm old. Almost everyone at my age is retired. And they said, why are you not retired? Do you spend money badly? And I said, no, I don't spend money badly. I'm doing this work because I love it. This is what matters to me.
Yes.
And when your company, Partha, grows 10 times, you're still going to be doing your work because I've seen that success you've got. Well, give me an opportunity to do that. Recognize my values, my beliefs, that's the belief, so that I can become better. And I think when we build that logic into a leader, help employees do the things that help them reach their goals, that then becomes a recognition factor. Now, some of that's again, that's not belonging to a community. That's more become better. What do you want to become better at? That's believe. What are your goals? I will help you get there as a leader. and I'll find a way to do it. Anyway, those are some thoughts around recognition as a. I love the idea of frameworks.
Yeah.
The guy
We
who,
have.
yeah.
So,
I'm sure you
we
have
have.
one.
We have created a framework. We have been now we are also working with the university to validate some of these data, because see, we are thinking slightly long term. We think that there's a long game here. Okay, behavioral change will take time, but we are in this for a long game. Okay, so that's our thought process there. And those values which we talked about, EAG, I'll tell you what these companies are doing. This one particular company, they're saying that, hey, just put up any of your employees, you are using some energy efficient bulbs, you have replaced all your home bulbs with the energy efficient, just put it up there. Okay, now when I see that Dave has put it up there, hey, I'm also going to put up, I am also doing, they might be lying, doesn't matter. Okay, but it's just reinforcing the idea of using the right kind of energy efficient tools at home. So those are interesting things which we are seeing, and hopefully I'll discuss with you further on some of these things. Nothing more for today. I think we
So
are
I
on
want
the
to
dot.
ask you a question before we end. What recognition works the best for you? We know it's not money. We've already said that. Is it values? Is it safety? Is it becoming better? Is it belonging to a community? What recognition works best for you?
I think the belonging to the community, I think, is something which I am feeling that is something which is driving me. Okay.
Nice.
I mean, my hygiene factors are taken care of, not in the first 10 years of my company where we had to live hand to mouth, but today the hygiene factor is taken care of. I have enough money so that, I can sustain my children's education and everything which is there. But what's driving me now? I think the community thing, I think is something that belonging is very important for
Nice. For me, it's learning. My wife is a very good psychologist. She's reading a book from Brene Brown on your values, and she said, "What's your core value?" For me, it's becoming better, learning. And the reason I highlight that is you and I may differ as to what recognition works most: belonging, becoming, believing. It could be values. That's my wife's, actually, is her relationship with the divine. And that's okay. And if we can build an organizational recognition system that acknowledges that and helps you focus and helps you receive that through your contribution in the organization, the power of that is infinite. It's infinite. It's not a compensation game.
I think so, and we believe in it, that really with the missionary zeal, that yes, it will take time. Okay, it's not going to change overnight, but we think that this is where the world is moving towards, the corporate recognition. But thanks, Dave. Thanks for your time today. And would it be better if I send you just a couple of thoughts before our next call, so that you can also just
happy
3,
to
4
see him.
things.
I love this kind of free flowing dialogue, and I will probably not script anything, but if you have thoughts, I'd love it.
Yeah, I'll just put in some thoughts so that just in case you get the time to look into that.
And Saha does a great job. Has just done a brilliant job keeping me informed. So a shout out. That's a recognition.
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure he'll be hearing that. Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Bye bye.
Okay, I'll leave the studio. Thank you very much. Till the next one. Bye.